Okay, so welcome back. And today I'm going to be talking and reviewing some of the important things we've learned over the last few weeks about your ACT and the procedures you're going to use on the reading test. So it's really, really important that you pay attention, tune in, and we're just going to do a quick review and talk about a few pointers, and then you're going to take actually a little practice session today. So the first thing that I want to talk about is transfers, because really when I talk about transfers, and that being transferring your answers from the reading test to the answer sheet. Okay, when I talk about that, that's actually something you can apply to every single section of the ACT. So the math section, the science section, you're going to do your transfers the same way. So remember, the first thing I told you was that you want to take that answer just to review it, your answer sheet, move it away from you. Okay, totally move it away from you. And really focus just on this booklet. That's where all of your energy needs to be, is on the booklet. Okay, so once I'm tackling this test, and we're going to talk about exactly how to do that in a minute, but let's just go ahead and just very quickly talk about these transfers. So you want to do all your transfers on each section the last 5 minutes. So when the proctor of the exam says you have 5 minutes remaining, you want to very quickly jump back to the front of your test and start your transfers. So I'm going to show you kind of what that's going to look like while I have a helper in here, and then we'll go over some more things. So she's going to come around here so she can feel my hands. Bear with us a moment. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing, I'm taking my test, and I'm just going to use a pen because it's right here. And we're going to say this is going to be, what we're looking at is we're going, okay, so I'm taking the prose fiction. I've scanned my blurb. This is the one I want to do first. I've completely read the blurb. I didn't read any of that. The directions. You don't ever need to read the directions. The directions really have, you know what you're doing on this test. So the first thing you want to do is you want to read the blurbs very quickly. So I'm going to read and see what each one of these passages is about. I'm going to very quickly do that and say, okay, so, okay. I'm going to read this one real quick. This one's humanities. Okay, I see that. That sounds kind of interesting. And then this one sounds natural sciences. I don't like things about fossils. I'm not going to read about fossils. I kind of like, honestly, the one on humanities. I think I'm going to start there and then go back to the prose fiction. So I'm going to start with this passage. And so the first thing I'm going to do, just to review, is I'm going to take my pencil. Don't forget, you're going to pencil paste, meaning that you're going to, I've moved my answer sheet away from me. So that means you're going to really take your time on this intro, reading it, pacing along, and remembering that things that are important I'm looking for, and we'll talk about those in a minute, but I'm reading this entire introduction, taking my pencil, not stopping. The purpose of the pencil pacing is to keep me moving. So I'm going along, I'm pencil pacing. Now, that's our intro paragraph, so I kind of went a little slower. Remember, our goal is 3 minutes, 30 seconds for each one of these passages to read it, right? So very quickly, you want to do that in about actually less than 3 minutes. About 2 minutes, you want to read the passage. 3 minutes, 30 seconds to complete the questions too. So I've just gone through this whole thing. Now my next body paragraphs, and these are all my body paragraphs right here, okay, I'm going to try to speed up a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is make sure I read my topic sentence and my topic sentence and my concluding sentence. And I'm going to skim this stuff in the middle. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to read this, kind of slow down and really read the topic sentence, and then I'm going to kind of speed up. Keep my pencil moving fast, kind of skim, go down, and then here's that concluding sentence, so I'm slowing down, reading, concluding. Here's the next topic sentence, slowing down, reading what it's going to be about, skim, read that concluding sentence, okay, topic sentence right there, slow down, there's a quote, I want to pay attention to that, then skim, read the whole concluding sentence. Topic sentence, slow down, read all of that, read all the topic sentence, then skim, read the whole concluding sentence, slow down, read the whole topic sentence of the paragraph, then skim the middle stuff. I see stuff about acoustic guitars, acoustic instruments, dance friendly, okay, then read that whole last sentence, concluding sentence, read the whole topic sentence, see a date there that might be important, circle it, and then go down, and okay, a lot of names here of these musicians. Going down, skim, skim, read the whole conclusion. Read the whole, and there's a quote here, so this might be important. Read the whole thing. Read the concluding sentence. Now, slow down this conclusion. And I see negative feedback. Some important things: sexually suggestive, reggae music, lyrics. Okay, things that kind of set the tone for this passage. So then I'm going to quickly flip back here. I'm going to go down and I'm going to read these questions. Okay, so this first question, okay, I know the answer to that. It's this guy right here. I saw his name, Des Cabasas, however you say it. Next one, I'm reading this. Okay, for first lines 35 and 38. Let me look really quickly at that. Lines 35 and 38. Okay, yeah, this is what irony means. It means this right here, puzzlement. And then I'm going down, I'm reading this right here, and I see, okay, yeah, that's right, that's C. I'm going down here, I'm reading. Ooh, I don't know the answer to this one. Not sure at all. So I'm going to put a little star by it and go ahead and mark what I think it is. I think it may be H. And then I'm going down and I'm answering all this and I'm going. And so, okay, that one's G. Okay, there's a line reference. I love the ones with the line references because I can just flip back, find the passage, reread it. Okay, excellent. It's A. And then go down and, okay, G. The least attention to which of the following topics. That means I got to read every one of these very carefully. Okay, looks like, yeah, it wasn't specific lyrics. And then go down, information quotation. So these ones that have really long responses, sometimes they burn up a little bit of time. So you want to really go through those as quick as you can and kind of skim those responses. So I got my answer J. So let's move forward. And let's say that I've answered all of these passages. I'm toward the end of my test. The proctor has called 5 minutes remaining. At that point, let's say I have all my answers. I've circled all these answers. Everything's been circled. I have them all in my test booklet, and I'm ready to do all my transfers. I've gone through every single passage, read it like I showed you. I have all my answers. And then what I'm going to do is 5 minutes remaining, I'm going to flip back to the front, and I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to do all my transfers at one time. So I'm going to do, okay, the first one's B, next one's G, next one's C, next one's, and I'm going to do this whole thing at one time. I'm going to get all my answers. And if I just don't know the answer, I'm going to guess my letter of the day, which is going to be my guess the entire time. It's going to be, let's just say B. So 7, I have no clue what that one's going to be. So I'm going to mark B. 8, I said was G. 9, I said was B. Okay. And 10 is G. Couple of quick things worth noting. I'm going to go down and do my whole test that way. Here's a couple of things. If you'll come in close here, Carmen, on this. What you don't want to do is you don't want to ever color in your boxes like this. Okay? You want to make sure you color them in. You don't have to do them perfectly, but you want to color them in. I've actually seen kids do crazy stuff like this right here and think that that's enough. It may not, the scoring machine may not pick that up. So you want to make sure you color it in solidly. Don't get obsessed with it being perfect, but at least make enough ink on there that it's going to pick up the correct response. Okay, so let's say I got all the way over here at the end and then I was like, I didn't get to the last passage, but just a little bit of it. So at that point, I'm just going to go down and do my letter of the day, which is going to be B, and I'm going to go down and color in just B. So again, thank you very much, Carmen. You don't want to do anything but make sure that you do all your transfers at the very, very end. Thank you, love. Appreciate your help. Okay, so that's about transfers. And now I'm going to remind you about a couple of things about the test, okay? So transfer is super important. Do all your transfers at the very end. The next thing is, when you're focusing in, when you're reading those passages and you're reading the entire intro, the entire conclusion, your topic sentences, your concluding sentence, skimming your middle, skimming takes practice. Like, you have to practice it. So when you're doing these practice sessions at the end of class, each time after you've read over all this, make sure that you really slow down when you're reading those introductions, conclusions. You got to practice that. Practice making yourself move that pencil. Pencil pacing really does work, remember, because I told you physically engage with the passage so that, your body's kind of focused in on it, and that pencil helps you keep moving. So when you come across a word you don't know the answer to, you don't go, oh gosh, I don't know, and you stop. If that pencil's moving, you make sure that you're steadily moving. So remember, your goal with this is that you want to make sure, and just reviewing a few things from last week, make sure that you read the passages A comfortable pace, but again, skimming the middle. The things you're kind of looking for, especially like in the prose fiction, that's the one that's like a little story, is you're looking at your main characters and you're like, okay, who are these people? How are they related to one another? What emotions do these characters have? If there's a conflict between them, like what is this conflict about? So you're really looking at the main characters, because there's always those main characters in the prose fiction. And you want to really think about how they relate to one another. The next thing you want to think about in all the passages, humanities and natural sciences, is what are the major arguments? What are the 2 or 3 main points that this passage wants to make? So if you see one of those main points, okay, I'm reading this social science and it's telling me right here, it says, the old Japanese proverb, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you'll feed him for a lifetime, seems to be the root of Novogratz's philosophy. So I'm going to underline that because that's important. So I made myself a note that if there's a question, I can quickly scoot back and answer that. So don't be afraid. Okay, this sounds really important. It starts talking about UNICEF and the Rockefeller Foundation. Those sound like 2 important things. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put a little star by those. So don't be afraid. The passage, you can write as much as you want on this test. You don't want to bog yourself down by writing tons of notes and things like that. But you do want to make stars, underline things that you think sound like they're about major points. Again, relationships between characters, emotions. One thing the ACT does is it gives you a whole lot of prepositional phrases. It gives you a lot of, I call it fluff, a lot of super descriptive adjectives, more than are really needed. And the point of that is to kind of try to bog you down a little bit, kind of sidetrack you from the main point. So you really need to make sure that you're focusing on the meat of what's going on in the article and not really getting bogged down with the little side things. I would also say if there's something in quotations, like a character or person said something and it's in quotation, like that proverb, the old Japanese proverb, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you'll feed him for a lifetime. That's obviously relevant and important enough that it's in quotations. So those things are important. You may want to underline those. Make sure you're looking at the context clues, those questions that reference a line number. There's some of those on every single session. This one says, Stumbacher feels that, quote, religious organizations often provide only a temporary reprieve from suffering, lines 17 through 18, due to their, and so I can quickly flip back to lines 17 and 18, really quickly skim it, brush up on it, and then I can determine what I think is the correct answer. So those you would never want to skip the ones that have line references, because those usually are a little bit easier just because, they point you kind of in the right direction and they actually give you almost like a little cheat sheet to tell you where exactly to go in the passage to look for the correct answers. So some other things just to briefly say, things that you want to focus on is remember, you want to spend no more than 3 minutes, 30 seconds reading that passage. It shouldn't take you that long to read them. So really spend no more than 3 minutes, 30 seconds. You don't want to read the questions first. Don't ever say, I'm going to glance through the questions and then go back to the passage. That's a time waster. Don't do it. Go straight to the passages. Again, skim your passages, see which one sounds like it might be interesting, and then immediately dive in. Don't find yourself reading the questions first. So another couple of quick things. You have about 8 minutes on each passage. And so reading the passage about 3 minutes, 30 seconds, give most of your time. If you can read your passage and practice reading your passages in under 2 minutes, and again, that's where that digital watch comes in handy where you can kind of time yourself. You can get your reading speed picked up where you can read them in less than 2 minutes, and that gives you more time to really focus on the questions. But remember, those digital watches, which I'm looking into ordering some for the whole school, those are really helpful, and they will really help you kind of gauge your time, okay? The last thing is make your transfers at the end, and remember your biggest goal is to maximize your time. The most important thing here that I want you to take away from this today, though, is this, super important. Make sure that you get to all 4 passages. You want to read all 4 passages, because remember, I told you last week, there are easy questions with every passage. Each passage has 10 questions. 4 of those might be easy questions. 2 of them might be hard questions that are almost impossible to answer. And the rest of them might be kind of mediocre questions. If you had a little more time, you could figure them out. So I say all that to say every passage has easy questions. And so your goal is to get to every passage so you therefore can get to all of the easy questions. We want you to get to all of the easy questions. So again, your goal with the reading section is to finish. Really, it's the whole ACT is to finish, but particularly with the reading section, a lot of kids don't finish. So we want you to make sure that you're able to finish, okay? So those are the important things that I really wanted to talk to you about today and remind you. In a minute, you're going to take a practice test. So, we're going to shorten the time because we don't have time to do a whole test. But you want to make sure that, when you're going over these answers, look at the reasons you missed them. So don't forget, too, that when you do your transfers, when your teacher says you have, a few minutes remaining and they give you that warning and you do your transfers, anything you've left blank, make sure you choose your letter of the day and you go down and pick that same letter of the day for every section of the ACT. Statistically, kids will say, well, I've always heard that A's use more or B's use more or, C's use more. No. ACT uses the the letters about equally. So, A's used about 25% of the time, B's used about 25%, C's. So it doesn't really matter. Pick whatever letter you want to pick. That's your guess letter of the day. Use it every time you have to guess. Okay, so good luck and do a really good job and try your best. Remember, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. You guys work hard. We're giving you the materials you need to improve your score. We're devoting our time and investing in you to help you improve your ACT score. But really, it's honestly on you and how much you're going to invest your time in these sessions and focus and really try to give good effort. Okay, so good luck and thank you.